Good morning. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. Welcome once again to Dork Duck Daily, the show with all the news, you nerd, and all the other trimmings. I have an empty chair beside me. Will it stay empty? That's always the question to shows like this. Um, as of now, she's like, hitting the Monday morning, like, no, it's not gonna happen. But as long-term fans of the show know, 50% of the time she ends up going, "You're really loud. You're really loud when you're doing the show, and I can hear you across the entire house." And yeah, so half the time that she goes, either me talking to microphones, she's like, "I can't sleep anyways. I might as well come in," or you have the cats will do something. Happy St. Patty's Day to all to celebrate. Good morning, Mello. Good morning, Addo. Good morning, Kashi. Congratulations on first Addo. Mello says was gonna ask, yeah. Um, she was to be fair, like I thought we were gearing towards being up around, but she said she did not sleep most of last night. Which we've all been there. I, however, passed out very early. Was my body was ready to just like completely just do not, but I did not do much yesterday. I sat around yesterday. I let myself lean into just having like a lazy video game day, which I've not really done in a while. Like normally I would spend a day like yesterday going like, well, I have to get this, and this done. Or I would kind of land on like, well, there's a bunch of outdoor work that I just kind of assumed I would be doing, but then the outdoor stuff it was kind of gross out yesterday. So I was like, well, I'm not doing that. And then just the mood and the vibes were just weird. For those of you that don't know, that aren't like around, our comic book store is part of downtown Adrian, Michigan, which on Saturday a huge chunk of downtown Adrian, Michigan was on fire. There was like a freak storm Saturday night. It was one of those like the weather was like kind of chill. It was kind of like it was a nice like we're kind of in that like, oh man, all the cats are losing their winter coats and like we can lose our winter coats too. Mel said heard that on the radio. Yeah, it was bad. It's just been kind of nice all week, and it was like a nice day yesterday, and then or Saturday, and then all of a sudden there was a freak storm where all of a sudden you looked outside and it was just like downpouring, and then it was like some of the loudest thunder I'd ever heard. And then I had a whole bunch of like shipping stuff that I had to get done before I could go home. And I was in the process of doing that. And then all of a sudden there was just like a gigantic, loud thunder thing. And then we lost power. And it was weirder than any other time I've seen us lose power because like we've lost power at the shop before, and very famously it happened during the big ice storm one, in which everybody was out for like several days, going back a couple years now. Went out in the middle of a live sale. We were doing a comic book live sale at the shop, and then just power went out everywhere. We like we were like in the middle of like our big, that was when we did everything as auctions. We were in the middle of our big like end of the night, we're auctioning this off stuff, and it's just the power was gone. So we had to pull up phones and try to do it that way. And Emmanuel, whom I love, who like they're a pretty tough individual, but has a thing about the dark. And like we were in the dark, like we gotta finish the live show out. Show's gotta go out. and we did it. So it's like the store's lost power before. I've seen it before. It lost power on Saturday, and every light in the shop was like flickering at different intervals. It looked like a disco in there, where it was just like boop 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 boop, boop. Like the lights were like still like trying to work, but at like different. And I've never seen that before. And so called the building owner, called the building manager, and was just like, hey, normally I wouldn't call you, just there's a storm and the power's out, that's not usually something I'd do a phone call for, but this is weird. Showed it off, and they're like, that is weird. And so they were investigating. I was like, well, I can't work anyways. I went home, and shortly after going home and kind of sitting there, and Emmanuel was in town, so like Emmanuel was coming over, and then we were like all hanging out and just like vibing. And then it was like looking at phones, and like the local like Nosy S's group or whatever started posting that the local downtown was on fire. And it was not near us, thankfully. But like it feels fucking weird to say shit like that. Like it's like people have lost their homes and their livelihood, so I don't want to be like, woo, thank God. It was not near us though. It was right across the street from my sister's shop, which used to be part of my shop, and she has a new location. Is right across the street from her. And so it was a lot of like getting a hold of, like, at first, it, as it went from 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, I think I finally called her at like 10 or 11, as they were still not able to get the fire out in the buildings that were across the street from her, just to be like, you might want to get in there and get your stuff out if they're still fighting all this stuff these hours later. And I don't know. I've never lived through stuff like that, so I don't know what the answer is. But yeah, Tropetastic is okay. It's across the street, but again, it's the same thing, Gashi, where you're just like, we're like, thank God, but then you're like, oh man, but that's, again, several people lost their homes and their livelihood. There are several businesses that are probably done, depending on how they can rebound and step back from this. And then there's like a whole bunch of apartments that I used to, when I did pizza delivery, I delivered to those apartments all the time. They were pretty well occupied. And those are all gone now. And the biggest thing for like, and as far as I've not talked to them yet over there, I know they lost a couple windows or such, but they might be okay. I have no idea. But the one thing that was right there that like does impact my family quite a bit is there's a spot called Hilltop Counseling, which is like, out of that spot is like kind of the one space, like the person who runs like all the local like pride events and stuff is based out of there. And especially for like queer youth, like runs like a lot of groups and stuff. Like that's where kids go to do like Dungeons and Dragons with other cool queer kids and stuff, so that all these kids from all these different rural schools can like go and meet kids that are like them, and know that they're not, because there might be only 1 to 2 queer kids in their class, but then they can all come to this group, and like it's in that space possibly being messed up, which we don't know because they're like technically neighbors to all this stuff that happened. but talking to my sister yesterday, whose store, of course, across the street, she was saying that like they did lose a couple windows and stuff. So we'll have to see what's going on there. Also some bar or restaurant was burnt. Owner was interviewed over that. Yeah, it's bad. It's and those buildings have been going in operational for hundreds of years. The town is very historic. We're not in one of those, for better or worse, we're not in one of those historic buildings, which with the comic shop, which means that like as things happen that are like, hey, this is all in the historic downtown, like oftentimes we get a little left on the sidelines of stuff like that. But it also means we don't have the problems that often come with these buildings that are hundreds of years old too. And it's, I don't know, it's a bummer. If you look at the history of Adrian, it's the town that like used to be bigger than Detroit. Back when the rails were the thing, back when trains were how you got everywhere, and then you see just kind of a tale as old as time as far as like community stuff goes. Is like, Adrian's like the big city in Michigan, and you see this kind of weird historic thing happen where as the world is moving on from rail travel to highway travel, you have several instances of people wanting to route one of the major highways through Adrian, and then you have several times all the town councils just going like no, we're a railway town. Rails are where you keep your highways, which is why it's almost comical how like every like major highway just kind of like bloops right around us. And this little pocket in this state would probably still be a humongous town, but they, because they clung to what was and not what would be the town's this weird thing. But we have these big, beautiful, gigantic historic buildings because at the time of railways, we were the biggest city in Michigan, and it's a shame any time they already tore one down this year. And there are people that are just like, oh, thank God, fucking eyesores, whatever. And I've just like, God, this fucking sucks. Like, whenever they come down, I'm like, this fucking sucks. And now there's going to be, a handful more that are probably going to have to go. And somewhere other Sam Stock sense is thinking like, yeah. It's always been a weird thing anyways, because it's like, we have a comic shop that's very findable. Like, and by design, we want people to be able to find our comic shop and go to it. But I also don't know how you don't talk about like when you own a downtown business, a huge portion of that downtown burning down, which is what we're going. But good morning, other Sam. I appreciate your existence. And yeah, it's it was a weird night and day. And then it's like, once you find out that, your sister's store is okay, and all the ways that like this is gonna personally affect you, which is like always feels weird, right? You're just like, well, my store is okay, my sister's store is okay, and I don't like the feelings that come along with the relief of that, and so I'm just going to. And the weather's too bad to do all of the I say too bad. It was a little chilly, but I was like, that's enough. That's enough for me to not do all the outdoor chores I was going to do yesterday. And I sat around and I played One Lonely Outpost, which is basically Stardew Valley, but in space. It hit Game Pass, and as you start that game, it's just you, a robot cat, and in a farm. Other Sam says, "Oh boy, that game is crack." It certainly is. It's that game's pretty incredible. It is funny how much I was like, "Oh, thank God, there's like no other people in this game," and then very quickly they start bringing other people in. And I was like, "All right." I kind of enjoyed the Lonely Outpost vibe of just being a robot cat, but I guess you could bring in your other people. But it's that game is very cool, and I don't know that all of this is by design, but as someone with like my own personal like vibes in politics and stuff, I really enjoy in that game that like you figure out very quickly that if your goal, like most of those games, is just to make as much money as possible, that the farming is incredibly inefficient to do that. Like your mining is so much more efficient just to like stash cash in the bank, as it would be, you know, if you were on like another world and you're like, fine, if I can like mine this shit and like refine it and sell it, I get so much more cash in the bank than it. But the whole point of you being there on that planet is to be the person who is farming and feeding these other colonists, which means that like if you're not doing the farming, even though it's like arguably like is not making you any sort of actual money, you are they tell you, I don't know if the game actually plays this out, but like they tell you like, no, these other colonists will like leave because there won't be food. You were the one like providing food for this colony. So like even though the mining is so much more efficient at money making, you end up doing the mining as a means to like fund the farming, which is then making it so that the other human beings around you can exist. And there's, like I said, I don't know how much of that is by design or like by accident, but there's something just kind of beautiful and amazing in that. And I've been having a very, very good time. Plus the robot cat is pretty solid vibes. Ada says that sounds up my alley, but I'm hooked on Coral Island right now. I still have never played Coral Island. I probably need to. But yeah, it's I spent all day playing that, and then I realized about halfway through the day I never took my meds, and I was just like, that's fine because I need, Monday's coming. And then I hit late last night and I was just like, all right, sleep time. I went to bed, and I remember I could tell it was gonna be kind of one of those nights because I was like, I am ready for sleep, and I looked over and Selena was like right next to me, like everything in hand coloring, and I was like, oh, you're awake, like you're gonna be awake for a while. And she's like, oh no, whenever we can turn the light off in a little bit. And I'm like, uh-huh. And she's like, yeah, we'll turn the light off, I'll go to sleep. And then we went to sleep last night. I just completely was done. At some point she woke me up, and I woke up from, and I have, I'm doing my first stand-up gig in like a decade or so on the 28th, and it's like there's this mild panic brewing in the back of my head because it's like I've not done stand-up in years, and like I'm like, man, I can't I I could certainly go up there and do my material from like 2010. That's definitely a thing that I could do. Not ideally I would like to come up with something a little more fresh, which is like not what how stand up's supposed to work. You know, you're supposed to like work stuff out and not just be like, "Oh, cool, like I'm doing the showcase show. Here's brand new stuff that I don't know if it works or not." Uh is there a way we can see the stand up? Maybe. I don't know on that particular show. If you go out and Google, there's certainly uh links to it out there. Um Jeff stands up out of the chair. Yes. Perfect. Um and at one point she woke me up last night and I in my dream had like figured out the perfect bit, and then I was like, "Oh, thank God she woke me up. I now have that locked in." And then I woke up this morning and I was like, I have no idea what that was. It was probably crap, but like it's gone now. Um uh oh shit, are you the Jeff behind Bad Jokes by Jeff? No. I mean that would be fun. But um no, it's but the I knew from then that she was awake at some point in the middle of, and I was out. You know, I was done, and then I woke up this morning and then she was like, "Yeah, I didn't really sleep. So I'm going to go out and sleep on the couch." And like I said, when this happens, it's like a 50-50 shot. Sometimes she comes in later in the show. Kiki says he's the Jeff behind Dad Jokes by Jeff. Um, I think the religiosity performance is still up here somewhere. Um, I did stand up so long ago that every place I did stand up like no longer exists, and then in the case of like um even this show, like so many of the comedian friends I had are like not with us anymore. The guy who ran the show is not with us anymore. Oh sorry, not religiosity, religiarius. Oh, that's loud. So this exists. We're gonna watch all of it. I think I start with the Rocky bit though, which was in some ways my claim to fame. Which I could step up there on the 28th and do the Rocky bit, you know, um, and there'd be some amount of just like that would be fine, but like I don't want to. Um, ideally, I would like to be like, hey, here's new stuff. This was a show run by my friend Ryan, who's there. He's no longer with us, sadly. Um, that was like such a cool idea for a show. It was me who was an ex-Christian. They brought a Muslim up. They brought a current Christian up, and um, I forget the other religion at this point, but like they had us all come up. They had us all do our stand up and then interviews afterwards and then a big panel afterwards, which for like a little like smaller show, like all that stuff takes a whole lot of work. Um it was cool. It was neat. And I fucking miss Ryan. It's a fucking bummer. Um talk to your friends, hug your friends.
All right, how we doing, everybody?
That's me. I was very little.
Yeah, awesome. That was mostly enthusiastic. Back in a church because I'm no longer really affiliated with any religion, but I grew up a pastor's kid, so I was very all in church all the time. But like now, I don't really have anything, so I'm trying to like invent things to be passionate about, like church. Like I think I'm like this close to worshiping Rocky Balboa. I don't know if anyone else has gotten there.
The infamous Rocky bit.
Not just even for Rocky Balboa was awesome, but that song from that first movie. Like, greatest, most life influential song ever written. It's amazing. But the biggest crime they ever committed is they only used that song for like the very first movie. I gotta mix it up, use lyrics or something like Rocky won, now his journey has just begun. Or Rocky 3, this one stars Mr. T. Or Rocky 5, can you believe he's still alive? But what is great about that song is it is the ultimate pump-up song. Like, you can put it underneath anything, and it makes it epic. Because it's just like, shopping in the grocery store. I've never seen this brand before. But I think I got a coupon. I got it in my pocket. Oh, yeah. The one thing, sadly, that doesn't really work for, though, is sex. And don't get me wrong, because it starts off awesome. Because it starts off with a whole part that's just like dun 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 bum 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 bum. Like, that part's awesome. Problem is that song's like 6 minutes long. So after a while, it's just like, ba-bum-bum, I'm really, really sorry. Ba-bum-bum, I'll try to last longer next time. Ba-bum-bum, I think I'm just gonna ba-bum-bum, let myself out. Dun-dun-dun, yeah, this guy's a loser. It's time to finish by yourself, oh
yeah. Yeah, that's the Rocky bit. So yeah, I could just show up and do that bit. I could just show up and that's not where I need to click through. I could just show up and like be like, all right, cool. Thank you, Addo. Shiki says hello, baby Jeff. Hello, Shiki. Famous comedian. I was not a famous comedian. It was moderately successful in a local way. But that was I've not done stand up in forever, and certainly there's a world where just I show up and I do bits like that from young Jeff, and that's fine. I would like to, I have changed as a comedian, and in the 15 years since that was shot, right? Like I've changed as a human being. There's certainly like more videos of me doing stand-up out there, and more of that video of me doing stand-up, some of which I would be like, I'm not sure I'd tell that joke today, and so just coming in with stuff that like I knew worked, and who knows if all that stuff works today. And so I would like to go up there, especially since this will be might be the only stand-up I do for a while. It just doesn't really fit into my life. I would love to. It's the standing on stage and doing stand-up is like my favorite art form. The like days of when I would like drive out to Wisconsin for $50 to do stand-up, like drive back. It was not a sustainable life journey for someone who's a dad. I mean, I was doing it and I was like moving up the ranks, but then I realized just how fucking of a piece of shit dad I was being. As my kids started to get older and like know and realize that I wasn't around. And it was that time of my life is not something I'm super proud of. I'm proud of like the art I made. I'm not proud of like who I was as a person. Shiki says, so funny story. My sister and I went to a small Twitch meetup and we ended up going on a hike. I was not dressed for the part, sandals and a dress, and there were a rather formidable section of stairs. And people warned us, and we got to a point where we were so tired, I pulled up the Rocky song, and when we all made it to the top, we very unenthusiastically jumped a couple of times and basically collapsed. Addo says Wisconsin is funnier than Michigan. I'm not using any facts other than my personal biases. Um, I so there will always be work for comedians in this area in Michigan, Indiana, Wisconsin, Ohio, just because of the amount we drink up here. And so there will always be bars full of people drinking, and there will always be a need for like cover bands and stand-up comedians. Other Sam says, be proud of the art you made and the growth you had as a person. Yes, exactly. Jesus, well, it's definitely cheesier. Hello. Good morning. The cats won't let you sleep. I'm sorry. Well, I love you. I'm glad it's not me keeping you awake, at least. You'll be in a second. Well, says hi, Lita. Good morning, Lita, for Addo. I said there's about a 50% chance she shows up anyways. Which is always the thing with the, like, I'm gonna go sleep out there. Cats often are like, cool, alright, mom's out here. Time to cause a ruckus. Like you do. But yeah, I think that's real smart. Sam, be proud of the art you made and the growth you've had as a person. That's kind of where I sit, where I stand with it. I'm very proud of a lot of the stuff that I made and did during that period of a time where I was like putting whatever art and stuff I was doing, I was putting that first. And I made some really cool stuff, and I did a lot of things that a lot of people talk about doing but never actually do. I will eternally, I guess my big claim to fame with stand-up that only hits for people that are like over the age of, I guess, like 50 now. Or so is that I opened for Bobcat Goldthwait, and that was fun, and getting to just sit with him and talk about movies was fun. And my favorite Bobcat Goldthwait story is that Melissa's Police Academy guy, my favorite Bobcat story is we were sitting there and it was like, the middle guy working that weekend was like, kept talking to him about the road and working the road and like, and that sort of thing. And I kept talking to him about movies because I was just like, holy shit, like, dude, you've written and directed a lot of movies I really liked. And then we sat and we're talking. Jesus, I was to say, who was that? Oh, you know who that is? Yeah, okay. But we're, and that was the weekend, was a lot of like, we're hanging out in the green room, and like the guy the middle act is just like talking about road gigs. Like, have you worked this room? How do you get into this room? That stuff. And then me just talking movies, and it was good. And then, and I worked that club a lot, and I was in like the lower level. So in stand up, there's this thing where it's like you work once you start getting paid to do comedy, there is this like format that kind of everything lands in, which is like basically a 90-ish minute show in which the first person comes up and does 5-10 minutes, but like your time can be completely cut, and you're basically there just to sell like chicken wings, and to be the guy that's like, and next an actual comedian. Like that's your whole position in the lineup, right? And to go like, any bachelorette party, like that's your job. And that's where I was, and I worked that, and I was at the point that I had a bunch of different comedy clubs that like I would be that guy. Probably, you know, 1 or 2 weekends a month at those places. And this one guy who doesn't own any comedy clubs anymore owned a spot in Lansing and a spot in Toledo, and so I would like work for those clubs. I would work 1 weekend a month at each for a long time, and that was the gig. And then you get like a check. You get to drink for free, and you get a check for like $150, and then your family's like, "That's totally worth not seeing you for a weekend. That's great." Like, it's not good, but like theoretically, you're building up, right? And so I'm doing that job, and I never had met the owner, and I'd work in that club, both his clubs, for like forever. I had never met him. I met like the people that he had running the clubs, which are people I'm still like friends with and talk to this day, that are like incredible people that worked those places, right? But all of a sudden, the first time that I worked a weekend, that like a famous guy came through, being Bobcat, that guy showed up, the owner, to like hang out in the green room. And the first night, it's just like all of us like hanging out, talking. I'm talking to Bobcat about movies. The other guy's talking about the club, and it's like the green room like feeling is like it is just like chill and cool and fun, and like people are like having a good time, and it was great. And so it's like we do the Thursday shows, and it's fine, and then we go into the Friday shows, and all of a sudden the owner is just like sitting in the green room, and he's just this like suit and tie piece of shit, and he's sitting there, and he keeps trying to make conversation with Bobcat about like, "Are you a golfer? I tell you, best place is golf around here. Are you like?" He's just trying to talk to Bobcat like Bobcat's a suit, and which like, okay. And we're sitting there, and like, granted, I've been in this green room a ton, and it had, I think, the first time or two I was there, they were like, "Hey, in this green room, had just gotten remodeled, right?" In so like for the 1 year, 2 years I'd been in that green room, it had not changed. But the first time I was in there, like a year or two before this, like it had, and people are like, "Yeah, and it's a new green room for the night." And it's a green room. Like, it's fine. It's not like anything it had couches in it, but like there are these like big pictures on the wall of like Richard Pryor and George Carlin and all these people, and we're sitting here, and it's like, and like I was always like, I love doing stand up. The 10-20 minutes before I did a show was always like this, like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna fucking die," and then I'd get on stage and be happy, and it's the best drug in the universe. But like, I was one of those people that my entire stomach was coming out my ears before every performance ever, which is just who I was as a person. And then I'd go out, and it would be fine and good, right? But so I'm in that state, so I'm like a little anxious anyways, and I'm sitting there. And the night before, I was sitting there and feeling a little anxious, but like the vibes in the green room were so good and chill and fun that it was great. But that night, I'm sitting there next to this suit who just like keeps trying to talk to Bobcat Goldthwait about just absolute just dog shit, like golf courses and other like rich white guy things. And Bobcat is just like, like all the guy who would like was amazing and like just kept was so generous with his time and conversation. Now that he's out around this suit, is just like completely just closed off, and we're sitting there. And then finally, this suit, I think his name was Frank, and Frank kind of like turns, and he's like, "Well, Bobcat, how do you like this green room? Just put about $30K into remodeling it. Pretty nice, huh? And Bobcat, who's like not said 10 words to this guy, just doesn't miss a beat and turns and he's just like, yeah, Frank, nothing gets me in the mood to be funny like sitting in a room with a bunch of my dead friends on the wall. Like, what? And I've never seen a shitty white dude like get whiter than a sheet faster. It was amazing. I've like relived whenever I'm like feeling down, I can relive that little moment. And holy shit. Also, hi Sam. Hello. Good morning. Shiki says I keep thinking about the movie The Green Room. Yeah, no. Different kind of green room. But yeah, that's my one famous person story. But I got to meet that's the best I did working with, and then it's like the way comedy works. You hang out in a lot of when you find out a friend's working with someone cool, you end up hanging out in green rooms and stuff too. And so I met a bunch of cool people. And stand-up's neat. It's just I don't know how I would do it and also not be a piece of shit dad, which is what I did before. And so there are definitely aspects of stand-up I miss. And I'm excited to do a little bit of it on the 28th. But I can't be one of those road guys again. I just can't do it. Need to be around more for my kids. We don't just talk about Jeff's fledgling stand-up career on this show, though. It would be a pretty boring show if we did. We also talk about all the news you nerd. We have a whole segment for it. We like to call it the Daily Quack. That is so loud. Give me a second. I made it quieter for you, but not for me. Oh my god. It's too loud. Okay. My ears. It's so soft on my end. Yeah, no, it was the my end that it was. Wait, let me indulge me for a second. I'm gonna. Yeah, that's too loud. There's about probably. Oh wait, no. There we go. Okay. Yeah, it was already quiet for you while it was like screaming in my ears. I'm still getting used to like the keeping track of like the new way all this audio works. Sam fixed an amazing amount of things in our audio setup. And this whole show was built around a very, very broken audio thing. And so now I'm trying to so there's this thing that happens with drummers a lot. This is gonna seem unrelated, but it is. But very famously, if you start following drummers, like guys like Travis Barker and stuff, like have to have a decision at some point of like, am I going to keep playing the drums, or stop forever? And if I keep playing the drums, I have to relearn how to play the drums. Because the way I learned how to play drums when I was a teenage kid who was mad at my parents playing drums in a garage, is fine if that's all you do. But doing it day after day after day after day after day after day, I'm now sustaining injuries, and so my entire career as a musician is built around things happening in the wrong way. And we had a whole show that was built around the sound system happening in a wrong way, because we couldn't fix some basic things that Sam fixed in about 2 seconds. But that also means that we had a whole show. That's how we had like a crazy hot mic the other night. And I'm glad that, we. I think the worst of I was just like, "Hey, you feeling okay?" But that's we had a whole show built around a broken system. Sam said it was not 2 seconds. It was like a 2-hour call. Yeah, it was bad. Oh, you're saying the fix. Well, you were on the phone for 2 seconds for me to illustrate. I mean, for 2 hours for me to illustrate the problem. But once you figured out what the problem was, you fixed it in about 2 seconds when other people had like tried to fix it and failed for forever. She says, "All right, quiet for us. That was a good level at the end. Hopefully you can adjust it to comfortable." Yeah. Sam says, "I'm debating achievement hunting Kingdom Hearts 1.5 plus 2.5 remix collection. It's like 900 or 197 achievements across 4 or 5 games. What could go wrong?" Nothing. But your time. So, Addo says, "Do it. It would take a couple of minutes, but imagine that pride to see 197 on a 197. That would be pretty amazing." Human intelligence sharply declining, by the way. This is from Neoscope. Trying to find by Noir El Sabai at Neoscope, who says, "No, it's not just you. People really are less smart than they used to be. As the Financial Times reports, assessments show that people across age groups are having trouble concentrating and losing reasoning, problem solving, and information processing skills, all facets of the hard-to-measure metric that intelligence is supposed to measure. These results," the FT reports, "are gleaned from benchmarking tests that track cognitive skills in teens and young adults from the University of Michigan's Monitoring the Future study documenting concentration difficulties of 18-year-old Americans of the Program for International Student Assessment that measured the learning skills of 15-year-olds around the world. Years of research suggests that young people are struggling with reduced attention spans and weakening critical thinking skills." Cheeky says, "I knew I felt less smarter lately." Other Sam says people are less smart, but more skibbity. That's right. Edo says, "And COVID has done a lot of that as well, not just technology." Yeah. Though there's been a demonstrably steep decline in cognitive skills since the COVID-19 pandemic due to educational disruption it presented. I think also like lingering effects and symptoms, but this article doesn't mention that. Suggesting these trends have been in evidence since at least the mid-2010s, suggesting that whatever is going on runs much deeper and has lasted far longer than the pandemic. Obviously, there's no single answer as to why people seem to be struggling with cognitive skills. One key indicator is the sharp decline in reading and the world's changing relationship with the way we consume information and media. In 2022, for example, the National Endowment for the Arts found that just 37.6% of Americans said they read a novel or a short story in the year prior, a share down from 41.5% in 2017 and 45.2% in 2012. I mean, I guess, but like, you can read more, but if you're not reading good stuff, I don't know that really. That's definitely a correlation, not causation thing in my mind, but maybe it is a contributor. Shiki says, "Well, in America, at least they're literally trying to make them stupid so they don't challenge the bullshit they're going to pull. Less knowledge, less critical thinking, less common sense is definitely not our technology." Sam says, "I feel like an overachiever for reading the Iliad right now." Addo said, "Not gonna lie, I need to read, but also games." Yeah, but like games can themselves be. This is why I don't know that I'm here for linking it entirely to reading. I do think that that's possibly something you could point to be like, see, but also like, yeah, games like are very good for the brain. Some of them are very not good for the brain. Some books are very good for the brain. Some books are very not good for the brain. Some of them are really good at helping creative and critical thinking. Some of them are, just like band-aids to just be like, you don't have to worry about the world going on around you. Shiki says, speaking of good stuff, I suggest a short Day in Hell. It was a little bit of put big words in here read sometimes, but it was so good overall and had a really strong mirror to show people who people really are when all bets are off. Okay, I will add that to the list. Sam says, lots of RPGs have very deep plot and story arcs that require critical thinking. Yeah. Or like I was, talking about the game I was playing earlier and the whole idea of like yeah, you could completely just focus on mining and that'll make you the most money, but then this colony won't get fed. So you have to prioritize something other than watch money number go up. And you look at games like Papers, Please, and you look at games like Undertale that questions just our casual nature with violence, and see also The Last of Us 2. And I think games and movies and YouTube and all of these things are just mediums, and I don't know that like books themselves are indicative of where people are at critical thinking skill wise. I think it has to do more with lots of other factors. Retro mentions low teacher pay. I think that's a big part of it. Sam says, speaking of good books, there's a book released by someone called Shiki, which is super great. Yes, feel free to spam that link. Why do you have two accounts posting on both, Sam? Addo says, yeah, the low teacher pay and union busting has done a lot. Added No Child Left Behind. Yeah, things are not great out there. Yeah, this article goes on to say it would be easy enough to blame this decline on people reading less and presumably scrolling online brain rot more, but according to 2023 results from the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, the same international consortium that puts out the PISA survey, 34% of adults in the United States scored at the lowest levels of numeracy, which essentially means they lack the ability to work with numbers. A year prior, that share was just 29%. Beyond changes in media consumption and the mediums in which we take it, it appears, as the FT notes, our relationship to information is generally shifting too. While there certainly are ways to use tech that don't cause harm to cognition, studies show that screen time as we know it today hurts verbal functioning in children and makes it harder for college-age adults to concentrate and retain information. There isn't any reason to suggest that human intellect itself has been harmed. The publication counters, but in both potential and execution, our intelligence is definitely on the downturn. Shiki says, I fully admit that TikTok and Shorts have reduced attention spans, but I'd also suggest that streaming has also reduced our attention span. Oh, yeah. When it's like, it's weird because like we have, I think here now in this stream, I think we have the correct amount of like alerts and stuff happening, right? I think we have a very good crowd that tends to more often than not use alerts that the alerts that we have handed them in like more often than not really funny ways. And there is something though, and we've all been in those streams where it's just like it's like the alerts are the stream, and you're in there for about, and nothing to say anything's like wrong with that per se, but when it's just like uh sorry, that article had too many big words. Can you explain it to me like I'm 5? I would just, there's like definitely like those streams you're in that like every 2 seconds a meme sound is playing, and that's the stream. It's not even the content of the game they're playing, or like the person and who they are, and like the community around it. Is just like skibbity toilet, and it's rough like trying to explain stuff like that to my kids and be like, no, it's like I'm never going to be the parent that's like, hey, don't watch other people play video games, because it's like I spend a lot of my time watching other people play video games, and also I spend a lot of my time streaming itself. You know, like it would be insanely hypocritical for me to sit here and be like, this is inherently not a thing you should consume. But like all mediums, streaming has, you know, a variety of things to offer. And the whole point of any diet, whether it be actual food or media, is that it has to be balanced. And you can't eat nothing but potato chips. Your brain can't have nothing but potato chips. And oh my god, is TikTok just a fucking potato chip factory? Like, of just like another video, another video, another video. Like, it's just, and none of them are a satisfying meal. It is just made for that complete potato chipness. Addo says moderation is key. So what do you mean I could survive on cheese alone? I mean, I suppose. Good luck with that. Good luck pooping. That would be my main thought with that. But Sam says, I feel like the instant gratification of technology, internet having every answer in seconds, DM responses immediately, binge watching in seconds. Been watching entire series in a go, Amazon next day delivery, as well as a little brain rot. People doom scroll to escape the hell we live in. Not only attention spans, but patience has been destroyed. It was really hard for me to get back outside and enjoy the quiet of nature because it's so much slower. King says, I know what you mean. Good morning, King. Good to see you again. Oh, if for some reason you guys aren't following King, by the way, he, like Sam and I, is also playing through every Final Fantasy, but he's doing it a lot faster. He's like on 5 already. It only started a few months ago. Please go give King a follow. Shiki says, I don't use TikTok nearly as much as a lot of people, / as much as I used to. I don't want to, but I can still feel the effects of it sometimes. It's interesting because, like, I remember them saying at one point that they were worried that Sesame Street was doing this to our brains. That the constant cuts and segments of Sesame Street, which were built out of like them actually like studying kids' brains and like what would be effective for them. They like were looking and they're like, yeah, no, totally. This is what will help kids learn like letters and numbers fastest. But I remember at the time, like when I was a kid, overhearing conversation of just like, oh man, these shows cut so much that it's going to actually ruin the attention span of kids, and pushing for more things with like longer, quieter cuts to actually calm children down. And so, like, in a lot of ways, these conversations are not new. It is interesting, though, the TikTokification of everything that's happened over the last handful of years really does feel like it's made the spaces we all travel in a net worse. It is, people are more uncomfortable with being uncomfortable than I think I've ever seen them before. Of just like, this is not giving me information or stimulation that I need right now. To the point that, that's why our cameras flip around. That was me, like, looking at it and going like, oh man, there are shows like this that I want to watch, and then I struggle because there's no movement, and it's like every 15 seconds the camera moves, and maybe that's enough to, like, get the brain to be like, okay. Addo says, I always forget people can overhear things. Like, that's a legit thing for me. Other Sam's complaining about TikToks that Shiki hasn't watched. But yeah, it's the world is probably a worse off place. We've also gone from, like, it feels like the problems that we had 10, 15 years ago were like people sharing articles and getting mad about articles and never actually reading the articles, just reading the headlines and thus deciding they understood what the whole article had to say, but they would never, like, read the body of the text. And, like, we've somehow gone to a level worse than that, of, like, now it's like we're just reacting to someone else who read the headline of the article. So it's like we didn't even read the headline ourselves. We just watched someone react to it on TikTok and get all mad and give a take. And it's just like we're even further removed from people actually reading the information that I feel like we've ever been. Ada says, I mean, I can't exactly eavesdrop, Yeah, that's a fair point. Also, both my parents worked confidentially jobs, so any call also meant that I tuned out, so I didn't learn anything. The double whammy. Yeah. Yeah, it is really interesting. So, yeah, I never considered that either, but it does make a lot of sense that, like, your whole whereas my entire childhood is, like, wrought with things that I wasn't supposed to overhear that I did, and it shaped my view of the world. Shiki says, I think that a massive part of that, though, is honestly because how shit the world is getting and how older folks are blaming us for the decisions they made that led to this, and the people that keep electing that keep ruining the world. And the way we get endorphins and any kind of gratification anymore is from watching things because we can't afford to gratify ourselves in many ways, which leads to where we are. Yeah. 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 Speaking of which, I've one more, like, story, and then we'll get to some more fun ones. But we'll get this one out of the way because no one else is talking about this. And if the guy who owns a comic shop isn't talking about this, then literally kind of nobody is. Addo says, also, boomers gave us participation trophies and instant gratification. So it's been social conditioning. Yeah. Sam says, I blame myself enough without older people blaming me for stuff. To be fair to every generation that has come before us, and each one that'll come after us, every generation is handed a weird hand of, like, I don't know, this is the world now, good luck. And I think we often, forget that boomer generation was literally raised by people who survived the Great Depression, had to go off to World War II, then growing up, if they had a chance to be drafted into the Korean War, a chance to be drafted into the Vietnam War, they were raised in a like, hey, you need to be the dudes especially were raised in a like, hey, you need to be emotionally unavailable, because you had all these guys who came home from World War II who had to watch their friends die, and were just like, you need to be tougher, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you. My childhood with the depression, my early adulthood was carrying, my dead friend back and like having to get up and still work the next day. So like, I need to raise you to be a fucking soldier, and be an emotionally unavailable piece of shit, because that's what this world is asking for. And then ultimately, that's not what the world asked for. They instead lived a life then of that did not look at like the world that their parents prepared them for. And I completely understand how then when people are like, hey, the fucking earth is dying. Hey, the guys, if we don't do anything, the earth is gonna like die. Like, we need to fucking get out there and like manage this shit. And they're just like, people say stuff's gonna happen all the time, because they were raised by people who are like, the worst shit in your life is gonna happen, and then it never did. And that'll fuck up a generation of people, and there's so many of them, and they're fucked up, and we're fucked up, and everyone's fucked up. We're all trying. Everyone's trying. It's bad. Life is hard. Shiki says they gave us those trophies and then gave us shit for accepting them. Yeah, I've never understood the participation trophy thing, until someone pointed out that like they did those for them. They couldn't handle their kid not being the kid who had a bunch of trophies on the wall, and so they started participation trophies for them, not for us. Shiki says, I see that, but that should have led to boomers raising their children differently. They should have wanted their children to live better lives. I hate that the default was to tell their children to suck it up because they had it so bad. Yeah. No, I agree. I think in retrospect, yeah, it's... And they just have not handled things well, and I don't think we'll handle things well on the whole either. I think, admittedly, we already haven't. Lena says, hi, Jeff. I promise I'm coming into the bedroom in a minute. Bug decided to lay on me, and I cannot move. I understand that. You are completely trapped. I've been there. How are you going to move with the cat on you? All right. British comic artist R.E. Burke still being held in U.S. detention camp. I promise this is the last, story. This is from Rich Johnson, though, over at Bleeding Cool. Addo says, what's worse is I see so much of that amongst our peers, too. And Shiki says, yeah, I'm seeing more break the cycle in our generation, though. That does give me hope, but I don't know if it gives me enough. Yeah, I'm hopeful. I think you have to be. That's my choice, and like, I'm just like, I choose hope. I choose not cynicism. This is from Rich Johnson at Bleeding Cool, who says, over a week ago, Bleeding Cool first reported the story of British cartoonist R.E. Burke, or Becky Burke, who has been detained by ICE when crossing the U.S.-Canadian border over what was revealed as a trivial visa issue. She has currently been held for 19 days at a detention center in Tacoma, Washington, in an orange prison uniform, sleeping in a dormitory with more than 100 people. She's received a lot more press attention the week after the initial reports, but less in recent days, and the situation has not been resolved. The GoFundMe to raise money for a flight home was successful and has been closed, but there's no sign of her release or deportation. R.E. Burke sent a letter to her friend Lauren Higgins dated the 7th of March, which arrived a week later, stating, I'm planning lots of comics for afterwards. Beautiful. I am planning lots of comics for afterwards and drawing often, including portraits of the other women, which make them very happy. The least I can do when they're very much in a worse predicament than me. I keep thinking about when I will be on that plane. I will be smiling the entire journey home. Those running Ari Burke's social media account reported that a friend visited Becky Burke yesterday. Becky has frequent 30-second coughing fits that leave her diaphragm sore. It's terrible to be sick away from home, much less in a prison. She does have access to a doctor to make sure she isn't dying or anything, and she can buy lozenges. She has been wearing the same sweatshirt for 2 weeks and spent a frigid night without it to have it wash. She thinks that might have contributed to her getting sick on top of the stress of imprisonment. She's been tested once for COVID negative. Well-meaning strangers are coming to visit her at the detention center and she really appreciates it, but she's too exhausted and sick to want to see anyone she doesn't know. She isn't lonely because she's getting to know the women she is detained with. Becky now has a number for Northwest Immigrant Rights Group that she can give to other detainees and get them some help too. She knows how lucky she is to have a local-ish support system. When she's feeling well enough to go out and shoot baskets with a daily total of 10, she is doing her best to maintain her mental health, but she is depleted with illness. She has sketched 78 pages of comics while in detention and considering a book to tell her story and the stories of other detainees. And that's a picture of Becky. While the events such as these are impacting others' decisions, comic book creators Ryan Estrada posted on Blue Sky, Hyun Suk and I have officially canceled our 4-month trip to the U.S. We have planned this trip for years. I was about to announce the events across the country, and Hyun Suk resigned from the job she loved and held for decades so she'd be available, but the U.S. is no longer a safe place to travel. With what's happened this week, all it'd take is for a border guard to find out Hyun Suk was attending a book conference to accuse her of planning illegal work and have ICE drag her handcuffed to a concrete cell. Finding out she writes banned books might put them in a mood to make things worse. Who knows how worse things will get by the summer when we plan to leave, or while we are there. She wrote her book about living under a dictator to warn us that it was possible. Time has proven that it is, and I don't plan to make her relive it. So to make up for all those lost events, I'll be loading up on virtual visits and podcast appearances. If you want me to talk to your class, your library, your book club, your podcast, or such, give me a holler. I don't charge nothing. I just like talking about books. After that blew up a little, Ryan added, this thread was meant to update friends, but has gotten far more attention than expected from politicians and reporters, so I'd like to add the context for it's widely misunderstood. I am American living in Korea with my wife, Kim Hyun Suk. We write books together. Band Book Club, No Rules Tonight, and Good Old Fashioned Korean Spirit are our books about her experiences growing up under a dictator in 1980s Korea. Band Book Club has been banned in Florida, Kentucky, Oklahoma, and Texas. We had planned a 4-month trip of book festivals, book talks, and important family gatherings, but due to safety concerns have canceled said trip. I wouldn't be in danger at the border, but she would. I will neither risk her safety or abandon her for 4 months to talk about a book without her.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense. Hello, Lena.
Hello.
Addo says, I'm a hopeless optimist, lifelong Cubs fan, but life last 10 years has made me more and more cynical, especially with the fucking shit that the government's doing. And yeah, my mother-in-law was hoping to visit her brother in the States, and my wife and I told her that she shouldn't go because if they detain her, there's no guarantee she'll be able to do everything that's needed for her health. She said sleepy Lena voice. Yeah, she's tired.
I'm still very tired. I didn't sleep much last night. I kept waking up and then, rolling around, standing up, getting a drink, laying back down. I think I woke you up at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah, I
You
talked about it because in my head I woke up from a dream where I finally wrote my like perfect stand-up bit for that show I'm
Oh,
doing,
okay, yeah.
and I was like, "Good, I'm glad she woke me up because now I remember this." I don't remember
You
it.
should have wrote it down.
I should have.
We were both awake. You should have said something.
Big Papa Burger says you can go to sleep or take a nap today. I'll allow it.
Thanks.
Langsy, good morning. Hello, Dork Ducks.
I need to get a drink real quick. I will return.
Okay, I
And I
will
will
save
not
the
sit
story
down.
you'll super be interested in for last. Then,
I will not sit down. About to get flopped right now. Mother.
Yeah, we're in a weird. It's so funny too because like there's a whole bunch of like comic book spaces that I occupy that are like no we should just not talk about politics, which is like fine. Like I understand the need and the desire to have those spaces. What is happening does though affect your comic books. There are going to be artists whose signatures that you wanted to get at conventions this summer that are probably going to end up canceling their appearances because they're going to be like, you know what? I don't know that that's really going to work out for me. So I don't know that I'm going to do that. And we can disagree politically. And you can say that those people are, making mountains out of molehills or whatever you want to sit there and say, and then that's all fine and within your rights to do. But to sit and say that like that it does not affect comic book conversations is kind of insane because it's like, yeah, it does. All of this stuff, if how the tariffs are going to, when every comic book is printed in Canada, are going to affect the price of comic books. And it's important to be able to have conversation. Like we can all agree to disagree on like to the good and the bad of this administration, but to say that like these things are not changes that are causing effects is at an insane level of just like no, this stuff has effects on these mediums that we love, and it is important to still have space to talk about them. How's everyone doing today, Lindsay? We're doing good. We're doing solid. You missed me showing off Baby Jeff doing stand-up earlier. It'll be there in the VOD if anyone wants to peek at it.
When you said Baby Jeff, my first thought was like Jeff the Land Shark.
Oh,
because I referred to him as Baby Jeff.
Yeah.
And then my second thought was that cat named Baby Jeff that I every time I see that post, I share it with you.
Yeah.
It's like someone's cat named Baby Jeff, and they're like, we called the vet, and like, I guess her boyfriend's name is Jeff or something, her husband's name is Jeff, and he has to tell them every time the cat's name is Baby Jeff. Which I still kind of feel like if Bug wasn't the perfect name for Bug, it would be Baby Jeff.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if his name was Baby Jeff?
Be amazing. Burger says, good morning. How we doing today? I'm about to start BG3 today. How is you? I fucking love BG3. That game is one of the most incredible things ever created. I'm so happy for you that you get to start it for the first time, although your partner has played it so much that like you probably know everything. There's probably not too much mystery in that game for you. Because the last time I saw her, she was like, oh my god, Baldur's Gate 3. Shiki says 8 years ago, I would have also suggested no politics in my streams, which I do stop conversations if they get to be too much. But now it's not just politics, it's about funding for sports and how many billions we spend on weapons other than other countries. It's about our lives. How will we afford to eat, warm our homes, keep our friends from being arrested for existing politics. Parents just politics aren't just politics anymore. They're everything. Yeah. Yeah, it's And I completely understand the instinct of people to just be like, "Hey, no politics in this chat." Or I was in one stream where like someone tried to talk about Neil Patrick Harris, and it didn't go through, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no, I now that Harris lost, I guess we can put Harris in the permitted terms again." And I was just like, "Oh, I don't know. I completely understand that instinct to have spaces that are, and it would be nice to have spaces again that are like apolitical where people can just like hang out. I, for better or worse, my feelings in life has always been like, whenever you're saying, "Hey, don't talk about this," or "Hey, don't let this thing," it's usually not great. More often than not, if you side on the era, more often than not, like when you're silencing communication and stuff, like it's often not good. So like as much as you can whilst keeping people safe and like keeping people talking and having good conversations and stuff, not having anything inherently be taboo is like the way to go. I think, at least, that but I really like conversation and really value conversation and stuff. And some people, that's not what their streams are about either. They're just like, we're just here to, like we were talking earlier, we're just here to play meme sounds over and over and over. It would be really weird to have like this just chatting show though and be like, but these topics are off limits. Tiki says, yeah, I'm not gonna always want to talk about it, but I won't shut people down for talking about it if they feel they need to. Ada says, exactly this. I like to try to be the break from stressors of life, but I also know that some stressors need talked out. Yeah. New Star Wars turn-based tactics game to be revealed at Star Wars Celebration 2025.
Article you were waiting for me for?
No.
Oh.
The one after this one. Sorry.
I came back excited for an article.
This is not the one.
I don't want it.
Well, Sam, who's here, is now exclusively a tactics streamer. He's
what?
Well, because he just streamed a tactical game. Now he's doing Final Fantasy Tactics, and then after this, he's doing Final Fantasy Tactics Game Boy Advance. It was a joke.
Oh, okay. I was like, what?
He's in a block of doing nothing but tactics games. So
I was just completely accepting of the turnaround.
Addo says Star Wars tactic game. Yes, Star Wars tactic game. And yes, there will be people excited just because, like, ooh, Star Wars tactic game.
I can't do tactics games.
Yeah.
I get impatient.
And frustrated.
Yeah. Is Civilization a tactics game?
Kinda.
Is Disgaea a tactics game?
Kinda.
What does that mean?
More traditionally, they're the like, here's my team of guys. Here's this team of bad guys. We take turns moving them on the field.
That's Disgaea. Somewhat.
That's Disgaea.
There's other elements to it.
Yeah.
I kind of want to play Disgaea, but also, I don't know. I've watched it be played so much that I don't feel like I need to ever play it because I feel like I've soaked it up already.
Yeah.
Several times.
I know nothing of the Disgaea games, so you could
so
live
weird
on my.
To me.
I had to review one of them back in my other life as a video game journalist, and I was like, "What is this game?" And then when I told you that, you're like, "That's Disgaea."
Yeah, it's Disgaea.
Shiki says, "Well, that's like me yesterday. G was passionately talking about something, and I just read them in my head because I didn't have the bandwidth for a real conversation last night. I just wanted to talk about farming." I've been there, but and yeah, I'm sorry, I've missed that last night. I was in there for a little bit, and then it feels like that always happens whether Shiki's like, conversation got too real, and I was like, I wasn't there to insert my dumb jokes, I'm so sorry. Addo says, I'm learning how to do them, enjoying them, but I have to force myself to be patient. Yeah, tactics games are hard. Shiki says, Lena with tactics is like me with RPGs. I don't like these, but you like these. Oh, okay, maybe I do. Can't believe you, honestly. That's fair. It's fair. You should be very mad at me. EA's Star Wars turn-based tactics game will be revealed at Star Wars Celebration 2025. This is from Wesleyan Poole at IGN. It says, the untitled Star Wars strategy game was announced in early 2022 as in development at Bit Reactor, a studio composed of Firaxis Games veterans, best known for their work on the XCOM franchise. Bit Reactor has worked closely with Star Wars Jedi developer Respawn Entertainment on the new project and is finally ready to show the game off. The first look is set for April 19th via a live panel with the lead development team from Bit Reactor, along with Respawn Entertainment and Lucasfilm Games, as revealed on the official Star Wars Celebration 2025 schedule. We know next to nothing about the game, neither in which Star Wars era it's set, nor the exact nature of its gameplay, but given it's being made by former developers of XCOM, it seems reasonable to assume it's something along similar lines drenched in all things Star Wars. It's very interesting and very cool. The problem you have with any kind of Star Wars video game thing, especially when you broaden it out to like a whole tactical game, is that either, and it's the same when they make, like, when Firaxis makes a Marvel tactical game, you either have to have almost like no Jedis in it, or you have to make Jedi powers very trivial. Like, those are kind of your choices, because the repeated nature of like, and I think I would make almost no Jedis. I think I would make a Star Wars game that when a Jedi shows up, you're like, oh my god, like this, and like that's how I would handle that, because like keeping Jedis powerful and cool is, I think, on the whole a good thing, and then you make a tactical RPG about, like, you know, everybody else. I think that makes the most sense. What they'll likely do instead is just like weird power fantasy of like, you're controlling 100 Jedi and deploying them on the field, and it's just like that's silly. As I said, if they made the XCOM games, I'm sure it'll be a good game. Yeah, that's that studio is all like former Firaxis employees, so it should be good. All right.
I'm ready.
You ready?
Yes.
Edda says, I like the Star Wars worlds that is without the Jedi, like the universe is cool as shit. Yeah. I'm all in for more Star Wars content. I never want to hear the name Skywalker like maybe again. It's so silly to have this giant, interesting universe and make it all around one family. All right. Mediterranean monk seals make remarkable return from brink of extinction.
Oh,
There they are.
I thought that was a meerkat at first.
No, it's a Mediterranean monk seal.
I know, but I thought it was a meerkat. Or like a... I don't know. Not a seal, though.
This is from Sohani Guntalik? I think is how you say that name.
I don't know. I can't see it.
Sohani Guntalik.
I can't read it from either screen.
From
To get my eyeballs checked.
ABC News. Once critically endangered and on the brink of extinction, Mediterranean monk seal populations are recovering thanks to dedicated conservation efforts. Greek organization, the Hellenic Society for the Study and Protection of the Monk Seal, known as MOM.
Wait, her name is Mom?
No, the organization.
Oh.
The Hellenic Society for the Study and Protection of the Monk Seal, known as MOM. I'm guessing in Greek, like that's how you read that out or something.
Oh.
Rescues and rehabilitates orphaned and injured seals. The species has moved from critically endangered to vulnerable on the International Union for Conservation of Nature's Red List. I can't believe they have religious seals in the Mediterranean, Sam. They are monk seals, yeah. Once on the brink of extinction, rare Mediterranean monk seal populations are rising thanks to conservation efforts. The Hellenic Society for Study and Protection of Monk Seal, known as MOM, is a charity dedicated to the care and protection of these rare marine animals. Nearly half the world's estimated 800 Mediterranean monk seals live in Greek waters, where the extensive coastline offers an abundance of sea caves that provide shelter for females to rear their young. The rare seals are the only seal species in the Mediterranean. They have big round eyes, prominent whiskers, and are remarkably fast in the water. There's a picture of one of them there, and he is the best boy.
Oh, the baby.
Yeah.
I want to pet him, if you would allow it.
Sure, let's fly to Greece.
Okay.
That's Panagus. Panagus. It's been a while since I pronounced a Greek name. Panagus is pictured hauling himself out of the pool at a Greek rehabilitation center, eager to have whole mackerel for lunch.
Oh, look how happy he is. He's so happy.
Can you post that in the Discord? I want to share that to some people. Yes. It has been about 3 months since the orphan seal pup was found struggling in the coastal waters of Cyprus near the carcass of his mother.
What? Why'd you have to include that?
But the article did.
I know.
I didn't. That's this organization's whole thing is they take in orphan seals. That's how they're like helping rehabilitate the population.
I'm not smart enough for all that. Like, I don't think I could go out there and do that, but I would love to.
Linksy says, I guess seals need rehab too. You know, when you end up in the Mediterranean on a bender.
Oh. No, they're babies.
They're babies. Locals alerted authorities, and Mom arranged for his transfer to Athens by plane. When Panagus arrived, he weighed just 15 kilograms. Now,
so small.
Now, at 3 months old, he has reached over 40 kilograms and is almost ready to return to the wild.
No, keep him forever.
Panagus is one of dozens of Mediterranean monk seals nursed back to health by Mom. Why Mediterranean monk seals were critically endangered. Mediterranean monk seals are skilled hunters, consuming up to 3 kilograms of fish, octopus, and squid daily. However, they are not partial to a ready meal and can tear through nets to steal fish, which has led to fishermen viewing them as pests. That just means they're smart.
Yeah. Look at this sweet baby. Look at him. Oh. Oh. He's so cute.
He is very cute. In the 20th century, habitat deterioration and destruction, as well as deliberate aggression from fishermen, has caused drastic population decline.
God, just this is the same shit as staying out of the ocean because of the sharks. Like, we don't need fish. We don't need fish. We can grow our food. We don't need fish. That might be a very controversial statement, which I might be willing to rescind given more information. But right now, my heart says that we don't need fish, and or hear me out, buy a pond, build a pond, dig a hole in your backyard, grow fish, like breed fish.
Yeah.
You can do that in Harvest Moon. Why don't you do it in real life? And let the seals have the fish.
I don't know.
Do not hunt them because they're stealing your fish. It was their fish first.
Lindsay says you take that back.
I don't like fish, so this doesn't concern
Chicky
me.
says some people need fish. I like fish. I like to eat fish. I don't know that I need like fucking seals to be murdered for that.
No.
So I would rather not. I would rather seals live than me have fish sticks.
Don't we have like fake crab? Can't we have like fake fish too?
Fake crab is made of fish.
Oh god. Wait, you can eat fake crab.
I can eat fake crab, yeah.
Oh, you can't have shellfish. That's
I
right.
can't have
Okay,
shellfish.
got it. Yeah, never mind.
Lindsay says...
Wait, fake crab is made out of fish?
Yeah, they make it out of cod.
Oh, okay. Well, then we can have cod, but every other kind of fish goes to the seals.
Lindsay says, human logic. Stronger nets? Nah, just kill them instead. Yeah. Lindsay says, you take that back, Lita. You can't take away my sushi and smoked mackerel. That's like half of my diet. Cheeky says, I need fish, but I would prefer they fix their nets, make stronger instead of killing them. Yeah.
Yeah. Or, we could do my idea. All the fishermen that do the fishing,
Mm-hmm.
just like
Do you farm fish?
dig holes and breed the fish in there.
There is...
It's fine.
Yeah. There's like there's a whole like thing with like farmed fish versus like wild fish, and supposedly the wild fish tastes better or something. I don't know. And then
Well-
around here,
You can make the fish habitat nice for the fish.
well, and then around here we live by. It is insane that we live in Michigan and the rest of us don't have diets that largely consist of fish, given what we live around.
The several lakes.
The several
surrounding
giant ass
us.
lakes that surround us full of fish. It is wild that we have diets that aren't largely
I
consistent.
want to go up north sometime.
Okay. To the UP or
Just yeah.
Okay.
We were talking about camping at some point, and I think it was during a stream, and you were like, "You don't look like you'd like camping, or you don't act like you'd like camping."
Did-
Not look like. I don't know how you can look like you like
we can
camping.
we can do some camping this summer. I
No, during the fall,
Okay.
towards the end of summer, right when like fall is hitting, like September.
Okay.
We'll
Do
go up
some
north.
Memorial Day camping.
We'll go up north. Go
Um
camping.
Addo's ahead of me. Addo says, but also because of industrial waste into the lakes and capitalism deciding beef and chicken are more money, so that's why you're all getting saved for the occasional. Yeah. So I was gonna say it's insane that we can't eat the amount of fish that we probably should eat living here, but then one of the reasons now is we couldn't like return to that diet because you can only eat like 3 or 4 Great Lakes fish a year or something like that, or you'll get mercury poisoning because they've poisoned the lakes because we can't have anything nice. Sam said, Jeff said, I can't see you camping. Remember when the AC went out and Lena said she likes camping in fall when the weather is nice out? Sometimes I feel like I listen to you much more than you do.
That is true.
Well,
I remembered Sam being a part of the conversation in my brain, and that's how my brain like hooked onto it too. I do remember now the AC part too of just like crap. I'm gonna need like cooler weather than that. Can't
yeah,
be
but not too
summertime.
cold.
Has to be fall.
I think you would do great in like camping, and that's not to like say that as like an insult to camper. Camping's great. It's fun.
I'm sure I also would not hate a tent. I loved like I don't
just hate
think you
setting up tents. That's
you
my
realize when
thing.
I was a kid, my grandparents used to frequently put a tent in our backyard, and we would just like sleep in the tent. Like I like tents; they're cool.
Dr. Alexandros Dendrinos, marine biologist and coordinator at MOM, explains that the Mediterranean monk seal is one of the rarest species of seal and marine mammal in the world. MOM is the only center of its kind in the region and has cared for around 40 seals, both on location and at its facilities. They respond to members of the public who find an animal in distress, aiding the adult seals on site when possible, and bringing young seals like Pangaius to the Rehabilitation Center and Attica Zoological Park in Athens. The young seals receive veterinary care, specialized nutrition, and swimming practice. They give the seals swimming practice.
That's adorable.
They are often named after who found them, but human interaction is kept minimal to ensure their successful reintegration into the wild. Once they have reached a healthy weight and develop natural hunting instincts, they are tagged for tracking and reintroduced into their natural habitat. This year, we had a really pleasant surprise. Dr. Dendrinos shared a female seal they had rehabilitated and released 4 years ago was recently spotted nursing her own pup.
Aw.
Conservation efforts have yielded significant results as the species moved from critically endangered to endangered on the IUCN Red List, and in 2023 improved even further to vulnerable. Fucking thanks to people like this who are
Again,
doing
I'm
this
not
kind of work.
scientifically inclined in the way that I could be super, super helpful, but I could cuddle a seal. That's about what I can offer for this. Snuggles. Seal snuggles.
Sam says they sound so holy. I'd follow a monk seal over a monk human. Same.
True.
Lindsay says camping so much fun, nice, cheap, and cheerful vacation. I've not been for years. Yeah, we've definitely not been either because as our I went a couple times when the kids were like little, and I really enjoyed camping. My ex-wife did and didn't.
Oh, so that's why you think I wouldn't like camping.
It's a lot of like it's setting up the tent and unsetting up the tent, or also like with campers, setting up the camper, unsetting up the camper is like that stuff's a lot of work.
Yes.
And then it's like, you're there. And it's a lot of like, you kind of have to deal with whatever comes. If it gets rainy, you have to deal with it being rainy. If you thought it was going to be perfect temperatures, but it's like freezing cold, you have to deal with it being freezing cold.
Yeah, that's why I'll bring like several sweaters.
It can be a weekend of like, oh my God, we hit the perfect temperature all weekend, but it can very much not be too.
That's why you go in the fall, so that you can either run into too cold or like that just right fall weather. I don't want it to be too hot. I would rather it be too cold.
I don't know that you've ever done too cold in a tent before.
Jeff, I went camping so much as a child.
Okay, all right. It's okay.
Literally, like, my mom real into camping, which you would think, no, that woman would not love camping. Weirdly enough, she does.
Yeah.
She used to go camping a lot more, though. I think nowadays she's just like, nah, give me my Netflix and my couch. Don't disturb me. But when I was younger, I'd go camping with her. My grandparents really liked camping. Also, I went camping like 2021 or 2019. I don't remember the last time I was camping, but it was with my friends.
Can I tell you a new pitch I'm thinking about and working on?
Sure.
And largely it's going to take some development and talking to people in my family, because it's like that's going to be what largely determines if this is even possibly a thing or not. I am considering, I can't get rid of a smartphone because of work. And just like we use it a lot.
Okay.
I'm considering getting a phone line and like just like a complete like flip phone that's just like does not have smartphone stuff whatsoever.
Okay.
And making that like I would love to just get rid of a phone, but I don't think that I win that argument.
I don't know how you're gonna do like posts for the store too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like
take my
keeping my cell phone, but just almost like just leaving it at work. Like it just doesn't leave.
Oh.
And so like whenever I am not at work,
I think that's gonna not be something you have good experiences with.
Oh, I'm sure I'm going to be jonesing and stuff at first, but I think like overall that might be better for me once I get over the like oh my God, I need.
I mean, In the same vein, like people like my mom have a phone and they don't use it for like Facebook or social media scrolling.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't exactly know how, but like it's still she's managed to like save all that for like YouTube when she gets home on her TV and stuff. Like
Yeah.
her form of like just zoning out and watching TikTok is zoning out and watching just random YouTube videos.
It's like I would love to just like leave my phone and not have a phone at all, but I think people would get. But like, there's other people in this house who have phones. Like, I don't. If they need to get a hold of me, they absolutely can.
I
But...
don't put that on me. No, I don't want that. It already kind of somewhat stresses me out when people are like, "Hey, can you tell Jeff this thing?" And I'm like,
Okay.
Can you call him and tell him?
Oh, I didn't even
Because
think about
I'm
that. Addo's...
so scared to like forget the thing that the person tells me to tell you.
Yeah.
Like I'm not the one for that kind of responsibility.
Bye, Sam. See you soon.
Bye, Sam.
Addo says, yeah, I can't forgo smartphones anymore with how hearing aids are. Now they're all connected to them. I didn't even think about that aspect. There's so much stuff like that where it's just like, you can get rid of a phone, but then how do you do all these things that are now just linked to your phone?
I think maybe uninstalling the apps that you struggle with, like TikTok or like, I mean, but then you post things to TikTok for the store. So like, I would say probably, I'm sure there's like systems where you can almost like you're like parenting yourself where you can like do screen time.
Do like the kids
screen,
things?
yeah, and once it's done, it's done.
Oh, and I've gotten better too about like this morning my phone's out there.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I know, because it kept going off and I was like, my phone's on my hand. What is that? And then it was your phone.
and I've gotten better about just being like, I'm not looking at my phone right now.
Yeah. Well, I think the problem for me, at least personally, is that like I associate all sound with my phone as like, because sometimes I get like telemarketing calls or
Yeah.
like bill collector calls or whatever. So I try to avoid phone calls and like my phone when it starts going off like that. It just like incites a stress response in me.
Mhm.
So I think even when like people text me or call me that are like not bill collectors or like people that
like people you want to hear from.
yeah, I'm like, ah, and my brain just like, I associate all sounds. So I turn my phone on silent, and then I don't get any like notification that anyone's trying to get a hold of me until I'm like looking at my phone. But so usually I'm like scared to set my phone down because I'm like, I'm going to miss something that someone texts me or messages me or whatever. And now with the store too, that's like an added like, oh God, if I don't get to this, like, we're gonna miss out on this, or
Yeah.
someone's not gonna get the book they ordered, or blah blah blah, whatever. So I'm thinking of like going through and designating like ringtones for each thing, and that way that I know what ringtone is what, and I can like
So if
pay.
someone calls that you actually, that's how
Yeah.
we used to do it in the old, like I used to have a ringtone for like each person.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, or at least like for the app itself, like a notification sound, so I know, because like if I get a notification from like Facebook or something, I'm not likely to jump versus like I've been really trying to like use Discord and Blue Sky and yeah, just Discord and Blue Sky, I think. But Facebook is hard because like it seems like every time I like leave Facebook and I'm like, okay, I'm done with you, Facebook. It's like an abusive ex almost. Like it like the algorithm then tells people, and then it starts pushing me, and then like people start adding me, and I'm like, oh, I have like reach on Facebook again. That's crazy. And
Well-
then I start posting things, and then I get no reach, and I'm like, okay, this was pointless. Goodbye, Facebook.
Goodbye. Goodbye
Yeah.
now. Shiki said, I also used to have a ringtone for each person. Now my phone is always silent. Mine is always silent as well. Shiki says, I've gotten so much better about doom scrolling. I've been trying to replace that with reading. Yeah.
That's my like. I don't care what I have to do. I don't care if I have to like get a lockbox for my phone and put it in there for 30 minutes or something. Like, just because last night I was just like dying from period stuff, and I was like, I could be doing literally anything else. I don't need to be like on my phone right now looking
Yeah.
at TikTok. There's no reason for me to be. doing that, but I just kept going. And then like I was ready to go to sleep. Like the pain had subsided and I was ready to go to sleep, but I was still like scrolling.
Yeah.
And it's like it's hard. I do think there's like a happy medium between like just yeeting your phone out of existence completely and like being stuck to my phone as much as I am. Everybody in real life always makes fun of me because I tend to have my nose in my phone a lot, but like a lot of the time when I have my nose in my phone, it's because I'm like socially struggling and like not having a good time, but just that like I get really like overstimulated easily, and like that's how I self-soothe, I think, and then I just get yelled at for it, and then that makes me like go deeper into my phone because I'm like, well, I'm being yelled at, so
Yeah. Well,
not by you. I'm just saying like
where Shiki is at, and Shiki's made this decision, Andrew's made this decision, and I feel more like it's like I used to get yelled at for that kind of behavior growing up, but it was always because my nose was always in a book or a comic book. And I'm trying to get more towards that of like picking up that as a soothing thing as opposed to
yeah.
the phone.
Or like I don't know if it'll be a book for me. It might be like drawing, it might be like something else, because sometimes I just can't sit down with a book, but like I want to do other things that are creative.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we've been doing more like drawing and that
yeah,
stuff.
I have plans after that Yellow Jackets episode, which I will not say anything about because obviously, but like I have plans to draw things from that episode. I just need to sit down and do it.
Put a link to our YouTube there. Please go check it out. We are so wildly close to 50 subscribers on there. If you can help push us over the line, put a lot of work into editing videos for that thing. And my essay on Final Fantasy 1 is up on there, as well as like edited down playthroughs of all of Selena's stuff. Please check that out. Whatnot is the easiest way to like go snag comic books from us.
Yeah, just put a bunch of those up there. We're almost at like 100 listings, which is pretty great.
And we'll start listing some of our like graphic novel, like longer collected things on there too, because I know like there's a lot of people that like, hey, I would kind of like to buy some stuff from you. Whatnot is probably the easiest way to go, and then you click that link, they give you $15.
We're still trying to figure out how to locally do it, because like
they have local turned on for live shows, but not for.
Oh, that's silly. I guess like there's workarounds for that, but that's still. You'd think that it would
They'll
be
get there eventually.
easier for the
considering they didn't have local for forever.
Yeah, and the more Whatnot grows, the more like I could see it.
But yeah, they'll give you $15 to shop on there. So even if you don't use it on us, you can click that link through and get $15 free to spend on something somewhere. So even if you don't want comic books,
they literally have like everything on there too. Like Jeff got me these cool like Japanese video games from like a lot that was just doing a bunch of random ones. I also have this like soundtrack from an anime that I've never watched, but like it's just like a soundtrack from Japan.
Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah.
So click that link and it helps. Even if you don't buy from us, it helps us out.
They also do like crafts and stuff too.
Yeah, people
like you can sell your crafts or buy crafts on there, and I've seriously considered maybe trying to do.
You should.
The avenue of like that with my craft stuff.
Yeah.
I have a lot of like inventory that I could go through that I just is sitting
of your
there
like cool earrings and stuff you've made.
I want to start doing more keychains.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
We have raid messages. They look like this. And this, I will be live later today at 3:00. Playing more Final Fantasy. Still working on Final Fantasy 2. Although we made insane amounts of progress last week. The end is in sight.
The end is here.
This is where we're going. I don't know if you've heard of this streamer. His name is Sincerely Sam. He's playing Final Fantasy Tactics. We're gonna head over that way.
He's a tactics streamer.
He's
as Jeff
a
said.
tactics
Solely
RPG streamer.
tactics.
That's all he does.
That's When you said that, I thought you were being genuine. I was like, wait, what?
He's just done a lot of it.
Shifting over completely?
He's
How do
just-
you do that?
He's just done a lot.
But
Well,
no.
he did his I am playing a different game now thing was Valkyria Chronicles, which is a tactical RPG, and then he followed it up with Final Fantasy Tactics, and he's following Final Fantasy
Yes.
Tactics with Tactics Advanced. So, but yeah, we're gonna head over there. Be honest, be kind, be useful, live a good fucking life. We love and appreciate you all. Thanks so much for hanging out. See you later today at 3.
Goodbye. I love you. Have a great day.
Goodbye.